Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Daily BizLink. Jane Cebrynski is back, and today we're talking about leadership intelligence as it relates to well-being. So, Jane, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Let's start by giving me a 10 moment.
My 10 moment of the week. Well, this week I have prioritized some planning. So I feel like I've been kind of slacking in the space of not setting myself up for success. I'm starting to feel a little reactionary. And so I did prioritize this week, planning some stuff that's 30, 60 days out. And let me tell you, just by doing that exercise alone, it does provide a lot of relief. And so that has been my 10 moment of the week.
Well, we're in that season too, where it seems to be top of mind with everybody. So it's a great opportunity to get a jump start on that. Well, that's a great segue into our conversation this morning with regards to leadership intelligence. So we've been talking about the well-being cues and started with what's our definition of well-being. And then we talked about economic intelligence. How do I pay for my well-being? What does that look like? We talked about love intelligence, and now I want to talk about leadership intelligence as it relates to our well-being. And we approach it from the me, we, world standpoint. First, recognizing that how are we leading ourselves as it relates to well-being? And this was very powerful to me as I dove deeper into it and started to really think about it, because it's like, we've got to be able to lead ourselves, no matter how old you are. If you are out there, how are you leading yourself? Recognizing your own strengths, knowing what well-being means to you, and then asking yourself those questions. Because when it comes to the workplace, we can translate those same skills, the same understanding of ourselves into the workplace, and really look at, okay, what is leadership intelligence to me? What are my strengths? What are my values? How do I want to lead myself? And therefore, how do I want to lead my team or my organization? Or how do I want to be led? And then how do I go out and take it into the world? Thoughts?
Wow. Just this last week, I'm not going to lie, I had a moment where I was feeling a little burnt out. I just had been going so hard and so fast in both my personal and professional life. And I knew that if I didn't put on my oxygen mask first, I wouldn't be able to help the rest of my team. So of all things, I just encourage everybody to remember, as leaders, we still have to take care of ourselves if we're really going to take great care of everybody else. So love that you bring this up. I think it's really important and something that we often let slip. And as we're entering into the holiday season, when things just seem to get a little bit busier and crazier, I think it's just super important for everybody to take a moment and to think about this in more detail.
Well, and I think just, being aware of, okay, what is my intelligence around leadership? And for me, there was a huge shift when I started to really focus on myself first. And whether it's from an economic intelligence standpoint, how am I leading myself economically? How am I leading myself from a love intelligence? How am I leading myself emotionally? I mean, all of these factors come into play. And so first starting with ourselves and then being able to bring that into the workplace and take a look at it from a leadership perspective in that standpoint, and then take it out into the world. I think it's really powerful.
So as we look to implement this, do you have a specific challenge of the week that you'd like to offer to our listeners?
Yeah, I would think, first and foremost, it's just look at yourself and recognize, okay, how do I want to be leading myself? What are my strengths? What are my skills? What do I value? What's important to me? And then challenge yourself, how am I leading myself from an economic standpoint? How am I leading myself from an emotional standpoint? And drawing the awareness there. And then if you, in fact, do lead within your organization or you lead teams, begin to put the question then on yourself in that way too, is what is my level of awareness around what my team needs and how I'm leading my team? And am I coming from a place of strength and values? And what does that look like?
I would encourage people to do this a couple times a year. I mean, at least put
Oh,
it on your calendar because it changes. Like
yes.
it's not like it's always the same. So even if you did this, let's say back in January or December of last year when you were putting together your business plan, thinking through your strategies for the year, now might be a perfect time to reevaluate things. So
Well,
Janice,
and what I think,
oh, go
oh,
ahead.
what I was going to say, Lindsay, what I think is important is recognizing like what's the vision for myself as I lead myself and or I lead my organization. And then do I have the skills? What skills might be missing? What skills can I develop? And why does this matter to me? And then, also taking a look at like, okay, what are the resources that are available to me to help me continue to grow in this area? So for example, if you want to be a better leader to yourself economically, what financial information do you need? What financial advising might you need? Who would you want to talk to? So I think these are all just really, really powerful as it relates to our overall well-being. And it's just one of the skills that we train in and we coach in and we draw more awareness to.
So Jane, as we like to wrap up today's conversation, is there anything else you'd like to leave our audience with?
Just go out and be a champion for your well-being and ask yourself the question, how am I leading myself in my well-being?
Great. Jane, thanks so much for joining us on this episode of the Daily BizLink.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thanks for having me.